Welcome to round one. Our opponent has chosen to play first, and this opener doesn't look very keepable. It has a swamp. If it had an island, I would be totally willing to keep with the two ops finding us lands and the essence scatters keeping us alive in time to get the As Foretold running, but with just a swamp, this isn't going to cut it. This hand is a little slow, but it looks a lot better. Lead on Evolving Wilds on one, and then I get to have all untapped lands for probably the rest of the game. Island. I'm probably going to bottom that. Well, that is the fourth land for Glimmer and Commit. Flooding out here is a real possibility, and I feel like the Opt and our remaining draw steps will already find us lands. Glacial Fortress. Looks like we're against another control deck. I'm just going to lead on Evolving Wilds here, like I previously stated. We just drew one of our win cons, Metallurgic Summonings. That should be pretty interesting, as if we resolve that, they probably don't have too many ways to take that off the table. That's unfortunate. So hopefully we can draw a Field of Ruin to just stop that, to keep it as Think Tank, because if that flips and starts going, we're never beating that. We have this commit to take it off the table, but I'd really prefer not to do that. That's a really expensive answer. Oh geez, we really need an As Foretold here. As Foretold in the land, and if we get the As Foretold running, that's how we beat this control deck. They chose not to put it in their graveyard. I think we have to look for a land here. Swamp, that's perfect. Fatal Push. Okay, so we drew a dead draw. It's really unfortunate that we don't have an As Foretold here to play, because playing that could really turn the game in our favor. If we get to just have an As Foretold running a couple turns from now, we just win the game on the spot. Looks like we are not playing against the deck I thought we were. Looks like we're playing against a Bant Lands deck with Hour of Promise. Consign to Oblivion is another answer to our Nemesis search, which looks like it's a while from flipping, but we really need to find lands here. If we don't find lands, or they can just let this game go on and we're never going to be able to do anything. Yeah, this is definitely Bant Lands. So tapping 3 mana. I think we let a Rampant Growth resolve. With considering how few counterspells we have in this deck, we only have 8. I think we would want to. I think we want to only counter the threats. Okay, so we definitely don't want this Moment of Craving. This Evolving Wilds is interesting because if we bottom this and whiff on lands, we only have 3 draws and an untapped land, or at any land, and if we whiff on lands here, we probably lose. But at the same time, I feel like I want to get a little greedy because getting an untapped Metallurgic Summonings is really important for our game plan. Looks like we hit it. Oh, geez. And one problem I do have is when we draw a ton of cards that are bad against control decks in this deck, because these cards are just dead. This Fatal Push will probably just end up hitting a zombie token. And if our opponent resolves something important here, we do have Commit, or we have Consign. We should be fine. Yeah, like, the Thematic Compass is not a card I care about. It finds some lands, I guess. It's just not particularly important. Like, now that we got to untap this Metallurgic Summonings, we should be in a great spot to just, This is what I mean about missing land drops, because I feel like I'm gonna get a little greedy and play this As Foretold here, because if we get this running, we're in a great spot, and these commits, like, we might commit something here, but we can just consign it anyways, and then hold up commit next turn. So I feel like it's in our best interest to get this As Foretold running. As with that, we have a way to win the game. The Search for Azcanta, still a while from flipping. I don't think that's flipping anytime soon. This Arch of Razgrim might be eventually annoying. Yeah. They're casting Approach. That's terrifying. Because that means that they can... they'll just kill us. We draw yet another dead card. This is really frustrating. We just drew 4 dead cards. We had an opener with no dead cards, drew 4 of them. We never had an opportunity to bottom them with the Opt or the... well, we bottomed 1 card, but this Arch of Orazca is going to be probably very exceedingly difficult to beat. We just have to pass here because we have nothing to do. So now they're going to start drawing extra cards each turn while we just sit here and do nothing. On a good note, we can... So they're casting Mind. And that might be... That's an interesting one. Because on one hand, I don't think that was correct because they have this Archivaraska. I don't want to commit this. Like, they only got one extra card and then they used up one of their draw spells. And emptied their yard for Azcanta. I don't know if I particularly agree with that, although that does dig them to their approach of the Second Sun quicker, which means that we can never really tap out again. Yeah, milling Hour of Promise. Yeah, that would be really bad here because we just Bontus and not care at all. Oh, and it would shuffle their approach away. So we're in an interesting spot here because we really need to get the pressure on. I think we're probably just going to consign the Search for Azcanta. The playing Hour of Promise. That's really good for us. So that means if I remember correctly, that should mill away their Azcanta. And then we can just go double Fatal Push, consign the Search, and just create an army so that way we can start attacking. It's not a very big army, but it is certainly a start to winning here. So we're going to cast Consign with As Foretold, returning Search for Azcanta. Once that resolves, we're going to Fatal Push both zombies. I don't really want to Bontus because I don't think that's a particularly great play. We're going to kill a zombie. And then we're going to kill a second zombie. They're going to get to Mazavith, one of our constructs. But we do have a clock. Really slow one, but that should pick up once we start casting these commits. Draw Evolving Wilds. In this deck, you always play at the lands just because we have these commits. You can cast Memory, which acts as a time twister to shuffle back everything. And, well, if we had lands in hand, then that's not only card disadvantage, but that could potentially cost us the game. Tapping 4 mana. Cast out. See, this As Foretold's on 3. So I can't actually... If I Memory here and they have a Search for Azcanta, or if they have a... what's it called? If they have Approach, we just lose. I think my best play here is hope that they go after my Metallurgic Summoning so I can just commit and get it back right away. Because if they go after my As Foretold, I'm probably dead. But countering this is just... bad idea. I think they're going to go after our summonings. They went after the As Foretold. That's interesting. That's not... I don't know if I agree with that. Because now they don't really... Now they're just going to lose to Metallurgic Summonings. Because unless they have a very good answer, like, that's an interesting choice. I don't know if I agree with it, is all I'm trying to say. Okay, now that choice is making more sense. But the order that, like, they were trying to deny us double counter turn, but they can't even approach here. They can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I guess we could die if they have an untapped land. Fumigate. Yeah, if that was their plan, that sort of makes sense, but at the end of the day, like, As Foretold is good, but if I'm given enough mana, that's not the thing constraining me. Yeah, that's kind of frustrating, because now, instead of being able to commit, or to, like, Memory there, or Oblivion, or a million other things, we just can't. Yep. I'm obliged to commit that. But now their Maze of Ith is constraining that. Well, there's a good chance that we just lose here. I think our opponents drew pretty well relative to us. They had their best card against us on 2. When we drew pretty poorly. I'll put it like that. Like, I don't... Like, memorying here is just not great because we would have to hit a commit, otherwise we just lose to when they draw. As Foretold. I'm just going to attack here to see if our opponent notices, but... yeah, I think this game is over. They have an active Searches for Azcanta, an Arch of Orazca. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they milled away all their bad stuff with Search for Azcanta, and then drew really well. Maybe this is a bad matchup, but to me it seems like we just drew a bunch of dead cards, and they drew all their best cards against us. We're going to cut all the creature removal. We're going to bring in Sorcerous Spyglass. I can name things like Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, which we don't have because this is a budget deck. And we can name Arch of Orazca, cards like that. I'm going to bring in all the Duresses, all the Negates. And then I'm going to... We don't have enough sideboard cards. I'm going to cut an Essence Scatter. If I remember correctly, this deck does not run... what's it called? This deck does not run... why am I blanking? This deck does not run very many creatures, but they sometimes do run cards like Regal Caracal out of the board, so Essence Scatter is better than just nothing. And these Dispossesses, which are normally good against control decks and allow us to take out a bunch of our sideboard cards, or take out a bunch of bad cards here, they don't have Gear Hulk, so that's not helpful. Yeah, I mean, we could hit like Treasure Map or something, but that's not really great. I think we're just going to submit with this. Having these 3 Essence Scatters is kind of unfortunate, but I feel like having 3 dead cards and then a ton of counterspells against a deck that's weak to counterspells seems good. Although overall, this might be a bad matchup just simply because they have a lot of threats in their lands and they can play the long game toe-to-toe with us, whereas we can't really do that with them. We have a Field of Ruin here, which is really good for us. I'm going to Duress them. Okay, so we have Approach, Hour of Promise, and Spring to Mind. So, it's really bad to let them cast an Approach, because then we can never tap out again. This hand is really not very good. So, like, on one hand, this hand, if we take one of these two, they get to go, if we don't take one of these two, they get to go turn 3 Spring, into Hour of Promise, into Approach. Or whatever Haymaker they draw. So we can't let that happen. And Field of Ruining them is really bad because it lets Sun Petal Groves and Glacial Fortresses enter untapped because they just have 2 Ebony Rivulets. And I don't really want to take the Hour of Promise because they have plenty of other stuff they can play on 5 that's scary. On the other hand, if I take that, that lets me Glimmer on 4 because they probably won't have anything. The other option is Approach, which I'm not a huge fan of here. Really good against us. Although we have 3 more Duresses, 4 Negates, 4 Supreme Wills, and 4 Commit to Memories. So I feel like we have a bunch of answers to this card. So I'm just going to take the Spring to Mind, because if they don't draw any more ramp, that allows us to Glimmer on 4. It's a really interesting decision. I feel like the game might... What we took there is probably super important. That's really unfortunate. They drew Irrigated Farmland. It does mean that they didn't draw a spell, but that also means that all their Sun Petal Groves enter untapped. We draw land. It's like, we're going to have to play the super long game with this hand. This is a control deck without a quick win con because it's so budget. And they top decked their best card against us. We have Field of Ruin, but that's still super unfortunate because now they get to filter all their draws. We drew another Glimmer. Not a bad card, but I don't know if I'm a huge fan here. Yeah, they have these Ipnu rivulets to fill up their yard really quickly, and they just got to mill a land that would have been pretty good against us. So they drew Scattered Groves. Means they can't cast Hour of Promise next turn, which is really good for us. Yeah, I don't know. Being a budget deck might cost us here, because instead of us having Disallows in the late game, we have Supreme Wills, which can't counter the approaches. Instead of having a quick win con that can attack them, we have Metallurgic Summonings, which is really dependent on them giving us stuff to counter. Okay, so we drew Commit to Memory and Sorcerous Spyglass as our options. So I kind of like Commit to Memory because it gets rid of an Hour of Promise. On the other hand, Sorcerous Spyglass is really good at turning off Azcanta, but I feel like we already have Field of Ruin, so I don't want the Sorcerous Spyglass here. I think I want the Commit to Memory, though. We drew Negate. That's pretty good for us. I'm going to play a tap land here, simply because that allows us... Oh, I'm going to play tap land here because we can only cast one spell anyways. So I feel like getting the tap land over with to... Huh. So they might have a Negate here, and that's why they kept it up, so they can counter a Glimmer. Or they don't. Okay, I'm going to bottom this, and I just want more card draw. We drew our worst draw. That's really unfortunate. Maybe the deck is misbuilt, but I feel like playing to play against one of these decks is way worse than having Dispossesses for the Godpharaoh deck, or Godpharaoh's Gift decks, and the Torrential Gearhulk decks. As if we take those out, their win cons are few and far between. We get to Duress here. See what's going on. This Essence Scatter, maybe that'll be relevant. They're negating. And see, this is really bad for us, because we want... Do we know their hand? No, we don't. That's second. They have one unknown. Well, if we negate back, we can't hold up any counter magic, which is exceedingly bad for us. But on the other hand, letting them resolve approach the first time is really bad for us, because that means that... Yeah, I'm going to counter. Because if we let them resolve approach the first time, we can't tap out as easily. Okay, so we have Naturalize, which is really good against our against As Foretold and Metallurgic Summonings. We have Hour of Promise, which allows them to ramp... Huh. Naturalize, I don't think is in the consideration here. Hour of Promise, they get to resolve this turn. Oh, Approach they get to resolve this turn because they can flip the Azcanta, and I didn't play the Field of Ruin, so I can't take that out right away. So I'm going to take the Approach, because 2 zombies I don't care about too much. And although that lets them get Arch of Araska, which means that there's 2 land threats I have to deal with. I think I'm going to take the Hour of Promise in that case. Because the Approach, I have a ton of counterspells left in my deck, and I can play Drago really well. This Naturalize is pretty unfortunate, but at the end of the day, this Field of Ruin is going to clean up the search after only 1 activation. Unless they choose not to use it to cast Approach, which I think I would. They're not flipping their Azcanta. That's interesting. We drew As Foretold here, which, yeah, we can't afford to use that. Because we just play it, it gets naturalized. That's no good. We're going to put a stop on our opponent's upkeep, so that way we can kill the search when they play it. Is this a Gearhulk? This is Mind. How does this make sense? Not sure why they didn't flip Azcanta, but, yeah. That's unfortunate. I don't know, Spring to Mind is pretty good against us. I feel like their deck is really good against control decks, although it's going to struggle heavily against aggro, simply because they have a lot of cards that are good in the late game, and if they don't draw exactly Spring to Mind, they have nothing early. They cast Approach the first time. And Moto's reminder text is kind of unhelpful. But I'll let that resolve. Because them gaining 7 life isn't relevant, and countering it just means that they won't draw it later on. But I think if I get to resolve a big pull from tomorrow here, I can pull ahead. I think I'm going to discard Essence Scatter because they're dead. What I get to do here, I think I'll play a second Field of Ruin. Question is, can I hold up commit? I can't hold up commit while casting something else. I'm gonna cast As Foretold, and I guess I have to pass. Because I don't have that negate from earlier, I can't play double As Foretold and leave up a counterspell. Yep, they milled Irrigated Farmland. That makes sense. Tapping 4 mana for Ixalan's Binding. Yep, I'll let that resolve. This As Foretold, it shuts off another one in our hand, but at the end of the day, this is not the most important thing that can happen here. Play Spring, let that resolve. Spyglass, I already have 2 Field Ruins, but this Negate will be awesome. It lets us counter Naturalize and approach for cheap. Let's do... Oh, and then we drew a commit. I think I'll opt. Just because we have the mana. Negate's great here. And there's a Duress, so we can use that to protect whatever we play next. So Settle the Wreckage is dead, so they have dead cards too. Naturalize and approach. So this approach I have multiple negates for, so I don't think I need to deal with that. This Naturalize kills my Metallurgic Summonings, which is less than optimal for me, so I think I'll take that. And I'll take the Naturalize. Release them with 1 dead card and an approach. Approach just is 7 mana, you win the game, but that's easy to counter. That's easy enough. I can't cast this As Foretold. So I have a couple options here. I can wait, get back my As Foretold end step, and then counter the Ixalan's Binding the next time they draw it. I don't hate that option. It also allows me to keep up Field of Ruin for their Search for Azcanta, and they can't really do much on their turn. Yeah, I think I like that. Because if I get this As Foretold going, then I can unclunk my hand, get some commit memories, like just keep the card advantage engine going, get this Metallurgic Summonings while getting to keep up a ton of mana. If I just play Metallurgic Summonings there, it's not nearly as good. So they milled Spring to Mind. Makes sense. Yeah, I also want a memory because shuffling back Minds is just good value. So they have 1 unknown in hand right now. This approach is just awful. It's a 7 mana, gets countered by Negate. Nezahal. It can't be countered, so this Essence Scatter is dead. Which means that we want to bring back the Bontu's Last Reckonings because they kill it while it's in play. Okay, well, this wasn't really my intention, but we are gonna... This was not what I was planning on doing when I started this turn. We're gonna put Nezahal back in. We're gonna commit the Ixalan's Binding. Get back my friend As Foretold. We're gonna... At some point, we're gonna have to shuffle the Nezahal away, because that is... Okay, so this Consign to Oblivion is going to be really good next turn. I really want to get this As Foretold in 2, because then I can cast the Negates and the Consign to Oblivion. I could memory, but that doesn't seem great. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast another As Foretold. Because casting Metallurgic Summonings when I get to keep up... I don't know, I feel like I want to get all this stuff in play. This also plays around Ixalan's Binding a lot better. And if they want to draw their Binding next turn... Oh, so they have Unknown. I can consign the Nezahal either way, so... If I messed up my math. But I don't think they're drawing it this turn. Yeah, they drew planes. Nezahul's next. So I'm going to destroy Ipnu Rivulets, because those mill me out. That was wrong. Because if they're smart here, they just sacrifice... Yeah, they just sacrifice it, milling me, and it fizzles the Field of Ruin shuffle. Which is not great. They milled a bunch of cards that I vaguely care about, but that was a huge mistake. I should have taken out the irrigated farmland, but these Ipni Rivulets are kind of scary because they mill me for a lot, but... What is going on? You can't... Yeah, they're casting Mind, drawing all those cards. This is scary. So now they have 5 cards in hand, they have 1 dead card. That Nezahal that I now have no answers to. I messed up this turn very badly. The problem is that they resolve this Nezahal and I'm in a terrible spot. If I cast Metallurgic Summonings and they just play Nezahal, that's not going to end well for me. It's not going to be bad, but, like, the problem is if I shuffle here and then don't draw a Negate, I just lose. A Negate or a Duress to take away this stuff. I feel like that might be a risk I'm willing to take. Although, at the same time, I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to... play Metallurgic Summonings. Now that I have these As Foretold's going, I'm in a pretty decent spot to... Yeah, I messed up that turn very badly, because what should have happened is they should have had to cast Mind, I would have negated it, and then I would have been in a great spot because they would have nothing relevant. Instead... They now have... I'm like, going to create a 2-2 for their Nezahal. Yeah, create a 2-2. And I guess if I get to cast enough spells, I can pop this Metallurgic Summonings. I'm just... This went horribly wrong. I punted this game away. Yeah, like, they now get to start drawing cards off Nezahal. On a good note, if I get enough cards in play, I can just... what's it called? I don't know. I'm in a pretty good spot. If I can deal with this Nezahal somehow, or... Huh. I think I'm going to Oblivion here. I don't quite want to Consign yet. Now, the problem with Oblivion is it just plays right into... Oblivion doesn't seem great because it's literally just you discard Settle and one card that probably the one, just a random land that you drew off Nezahal. So now we just keep going on the you draw cards plan. Oh, here's a good one. To bounce your Nezahal before I do anything else. And I played the Field of Ruin before I Time Twistered because it's just free cards. It's just a free card, and then if I draw on less lands in this hand, I'm in a better spot to do other stuff. But now I have only 1 relevant card in hand. So they have Naturalize, Jeez, I can't beat that hand. They have 2 Naturalizes. Actually, we're super ahead on board, so I'll take the approach, because actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, yeah, no. I think I take the approach. And I'm 1 mana short of getting to cast this Oblivion, which would give us a 5/5. On a good note, we're super ahead on board, but on the bad note is that I have these Essence Scatters, and they decided that their anti-control deck really didn't want to lose to control. I don't know. So they have 2 natural, like, I don't know. their hand wasn't great that they drew, but at the same time, actually it was. I consigned and then time twistered, and they drew Nezahal again. Hour of Promise. They can't cast the Nezahal. That's really good for me. Although they're going to get Arch, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, I have 2 Field of Ruins, so I'm just going to Field of Ruin down that. And then... the problem... Thematic Compass. No, that makes mana. I can negate this, but I don't really care about it. I think the more correct play is to counter one of the naturalizes. And then... yeah, I don't know. If I had 1 more mana here, I'd be in a super good spot. I think I just... drawing this Essence Scatter was really unfortunate. I don't have that many, and I didn't draw any Consigns, which are great against Nezahal. Yep, they get to naturalize it down. If I have 1 more mana, I get to pop this Metallurgic Summonings and get back all that stuff. And then I get to Duress them. Oh, what did they play? Is there land for the turn? They played Glacial Fortress. This is their hand. So if I make them discard 2, they're just going to pitch Glacial Fortress and Shefet Dunes. Good news is I still have 2 As Foretold, but the bad news is I have every land I could possibly want for the rest of the game. Which is kind of unfortunate considering that 3 lands in the 3 lands in my new hand, considering that I already had this many in play, is super unlucky, but whatever. I have a lot of good draws here. If I draw Glimmer, Commit, a bunch of others, I'm in a great spot. I put myself dead to Approach. I feel like there's not much of a point in Oblivion here, because I just make them discard lands that they don't care about anyways. I'm not going to take out their Scavenger Grounds because I just don't care, and their Maze of Ith I also just don't care. They can't mill me out. My goal here is probably just top deck Glimmers, Commit to Memories, pull from tomorrow. And those should help me win, but they're just going to play Nezahal here, and I don't have the Metallurgic Summonings anymore, so Essence Scatter's not helpful. I have 1 more Metallurgic Summoning, so if they... okay. So now we're in a little bit of a stalemate, almost, because... or they're going to try milling me out, because that's 12... 16, 18... wait, 16, 20, 24 cards. I think they have another one in hand. What did they play this turn? Play Glacial Fortress again. Alright, I'm gonna use the Oblivion just to take out the rest of their hand, but top decking is really important here. What's it called? Commit to Memory is okay, whatever. Get to do this. Take out all but 1 card in their hand. They discard the 2 lands, I'm going to Duress. Yep, I guess I'll Duress. See if they hit anything important. Just be kind of frustrated at how bad I drew up that Time Twister compared to them. They drew their best card against me. I drew, I think it was a Negate and nothing else. Okay, now Syncopate's, they'd have to leave up so much mana, but Teferi I just can't beat. I don't know. This is just kind of frustrating. Because I still have 3 Commit to Memories, 4 Glimmers, a Pull from Tomorrow, Supreme Wills find more cards. Like, all of those are just great. Metallurgic Summonings would be okay, but I really need something... no, it wouldn't. They can just counter anything I play. Alright. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16. Yeah, I only have 16. And this is only a 24 land deck. I only have 8 lands in the next 35 cards. So I feel like I'm in a decent spot because these syncopates aren't all that good. You know, 7 lands left in the next. I don't know. I've drawn really poorly. I drew Negate in that memory, whereas anything else just puts me in a great spot. This is an actual Maze of Ith. It does only opponent's creatures, so they can't attack with Desahal, see how I block, and then untap for free. Let's see, will I draw Commit to Memory, or I drew Opt. See, I don't even really want to play that, because that just gives them fuel for their Nezahal. And most of the cards I want are instants anyways, and I assume their hand is just a bunch of counterspells, because they haven't been playing out lands, and they would if they were against a Time Twister deck. And I've shown that I will. Yep. Game 3, I'll bring in the Bontu, 3 Bontus over the Essence Scatters, because they kill Nezahal, or at least force them to... Are they just trying to mill me out? There's 3, 4, 5, 6 deserts. 6 deserts times 4 is 24 cards. So I wouldn't quite die. I also need to hurry up a little bit because we're at 5 minutes. And this I'm going to have to play super fast, so the commentary might be a little less because otherwise we're going to time out. Bottom Evolving Wilds. Oh, sweet. I can name Nezahal and then they can't exile it, but that's also not that helpful. Commit to Memory is great. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to untap. And I get to cast the As Foretold, or cast Sorcerous Spyglass with As Foretold. I'm going to name Nezahal, almost certainly. They have 7 cards. They've drawn so many off this Nezahal. That card is insane against control, and I don't know. Lots of dead cards. Ixalan's Binding and Search. Search isn't that great. Ixalan's Binding is... Oh wait, I'm not... Nezahal. And then I get to commit this. I can't exile it. Cycle. Cycle. And then I get to Field of Ruin it away. I think they should be running low on basics at this point. Let's just take out a Glacial Fortress. If they really wanted, they could, like, Scavenger Grounds away my... what's it called? Oh, I only have 1 more basic left. Yeah, we're going to lose this game because I was playing way too slow. When I'm not recording, I usually don't play this slow, but this is... Like, I can attack out with everything. They have 2 Fumigates, so... I don't know. They're going to gain a bunch of life. Oh, are they going to mill us out? Oh, no. This is actually kind of bad. So they're going to mill us out like I think they are. Yep. I let that resolve. Because what I'm going to need to do is take out the Scavenger Grounds. Which means that Azcanta gets to live, but I'm out of basics too, which is kind of bad. Take out the Scavenger Grounds, because otherwise they can just exile everything. And if they pop this now, they took out all our Commit to Memories. Dang it. Okay, I don't even get... I don't know. I think I died. Because I've lost 1, 2, 3. I have one more commit to memory left, but I don't have enough time to actually... What I want to. Settle is just... Yep, they're going to fumigate. I am very dead. I'm gonna like kill. I'm gonna say you can't have that, but they're just gonna. They can't syncopate back. I'm gonna have to draw pretty well. So now I have 3 Maze of Iths. It's a little strange how I haven't drawn a single Supreme Will yet. Alright, there's 1 exiled. I don't know. I drew like all the lands on my deck in the Time Twister hand, because if that Time Twister hand was better, I might win this game, but I was probably timing out game 3 anyways. I've been playing way too slow for recording. I don't know. They have 4, 5 deserts, which is... They have 3, 4 deserts. We might just die to the fact that they could just mill us out at any time. Top that. I don't want another As Foretold. Okay, so we can take out one of them. Top both. Then take out a Ipnu Rivulet. The problem here is I have to draw the Metallurgic Summonings. Okay, yep, we have no more basics. 1 commit to memory. And then I'd have to win a game in like 3 minutes, and they would just stall out, and there's no way I can win, so I'd just have to be F6ing like crazy, and then they just play a reasonable game of Magic, and I'd lose. These Essence Scatters not being Bontus, I don't think is what cost us. I think it's just that our opponent's playing a deck that's really good against us, and we drew really badly off when I Time Twistered. Our Promise. I'm going to Glimmer in response. Bottom, top. Alright, I can take out the Ixalan's Binding to take out our Metallurgic Summonings. I'm going to stop doing stuff so that way I can just turbo through. I think if we win here, we can say that this matchup is okay, but there's no way that we're getting through 3 Maze of Iths, another Fumigate. I'll just let us time out. Maybe I can win this game, but I kind of doubt it. Maybe if I play Essence Scatter. To like duress them. I take the Ixalan's Binding. Oh wait, we are just dead to these Ipnu Rivulets. Because I can't cast the memories with Flash. Yep, I don't know. I feel like we lost this somewhat because of misplays, and mostly because we got a little unlucky. Anyways, see you guys in round 2.